What is up, guys? This is David Wong, your favorite YouTuber, wannabe favorite YouTuber. Maybe I'm not famous enough on YouTube, but anyway, I'm getting there. I'm making these videos. Today, I want to talk about finding a metric and tracking it to make progress. This might not be the title of the video. I'm still thinking about it, but you get the idea. I keep thinking about these concepts. It's a very well known concept, but I want to make it more important in my life right now. I think it's time that I emphasize this concept in my life. I have different concepts that I want to emphasize at different points in my life, but right now, this is the one. So I'm making a video, and at the end of the video, I'll give you a challenge. But anyway, so you might realize what I'm going to talk about, but I came to the realization that it's kind of useless to try to make progress in something if you don't track a metric in that something and see if it goes up or goes down and whatever. And I realized that I know you're kind of tired of me talking about sport, but uh, if you've watched my previous videos, I've been doing sports for a year now. I was trying to be consistent. I got there. I'm more consistent now, but I'm not really making progress. I haven't really lifted more than, I lifted more than when I started, but it's not the best. And so I realized that I was missing this thing that is called progressive overload. I think I've mentioned that in a previous video, and everybody always rave about it, but I didn't understand how important it was. And progressive overload, if you don't know, is just about keeping track of how much weight you're lifting and trying to increase that. And since I've been doing that, I keep reaching what we call personal records, PRs, and I keep increasing the weights that I'm lifting. So now I can see real progress, and it's been actually pretty easy these days to improve things. And I believe it's because I'm just tracking them. I'm just tracking these specific exercises and how much I'm doing there and improving it. And sport is not the only domain where this is happening, but I've noticed this thing happening in many domains. So when people try to lose weight, they'll track, their weights every day and see if the number goes up and down. And if they're doing something wrong, then obviously the number is going to go up. And they're like, okay, I need to change what I'm doing. Some people track calories. Actually, the only times when I lost weight in my life, which was very few times, I was actually tracking calories and realizing that I was eating too many calories and actually managing to reduce the number of calories. So that's a very good way. I've seen people doing that. It's a very well-known way. And today I was watching a video on weight loss, and this guy was taking pictures of himself every day to see if he would actually get slimmer and getting motivated from it and being able to track progress and so on. You see it in finance when people want to save money and spend less, they'll track their budgets, they'll track their spendings. You see it in language learning when people track the number of words they're learning, how many words they're learning per day, or they're going through Duolingo and they're trying to make sure that they, do their lesson every day or like whatever. I haven't used Duolingo in a while, so I don't know what's the latest, but they're very good at gamifying this thing and keeping you, um, addicted to this thing. And maybe the biggest example that I can think of, and by the way, if you think of any examples in your life or that you've seen around you, please comment and I'd be interested to learn about that. But the big one that I can think of that not everybody likes, I think I like it. I've done it in the past in my in a previous company, but this applies to the workspace, and this is KPIs, key performance indicator. And if this gives you a headache, please don't leave. I just wanted to give that as an example of companies want to get better, so they'll find um, what they call a key performance indicator, a KPI, and it's just a metric that they. And I guess the name comes from the fact that they're trying to find metrics that are not bullshit metrics, vanity metrics that don't really matter. They try to find the metric that really tracks the you know success or performance in something that really matter, something that really matters. And then they track it and they see if it goes up or down. And I think we need, basically, what I'm saying is that I think we need KPIs in our lives. Like in everything that you want to improve, you need to find a metric and you need to improve it. And that's the only way to improve something. And as I said, with the with the gym, I've been going to the gym for a year, haven't really improved much besides consistency, which was, I guess, was my first metric. Um, but now I realized, okay, if I want to improve and create more muscles, I need to track a different metric. So maybe part of what I should say today is that you should find the right metric at the right time, and you should not necessarily keep the same metric over and over. Maybe you should change as you get better in something. Maybe you want to change that metric. Anyway, I was wondering why this idea of finding a metric and tracking it is so good. And I think it's highly connected to this idea of getting or of creating a feedback loop. And maybe that's the other part of this video that I should emphasize to you, is that this idea of a feedback loop is very important. And I've talked about it before. Having a feedback loop is amazing to see if you're understanding something correctly, but I think it's also amazing to see if you're making progress somewhere. And basically, a lot of the times, when you're trying to improve something, you don't really understand what you're trying to improve. So finding the right metric is part of that. And then you don't really understand if you're actually improving. You do these things and you're very vague and unintentional about what you're doing. But when you get that when you're writing every day, like how many times have I done that, or what are my numbers? Like how many hours of study have I performed today, or something like that. Then you can really see the pattern. You can really see if you're making progress because you're doing something right, or you're not making any progress, or you're regressing maybe because you're not doing something right. And so that feedback loop really gives you momentum. It really allows you to create a habit, or improving what you need to improve, or like whatever it is that you need to do to improve that thing you're trying to improve. And so that feedback loop is important because you're doing different things here. You're creating that feedback loop, right? You're like, okay, what do I need to get feedback on? You're figuring out, how do I get that feedback loop? So maybe it's just a pen and paper. It's you writing every day, what are you doing? How many hours am I spending doing this thing? How many, pounds am I lifting, or kilos am I lifting, or whatever? So you're creating this feedback loop from a tool, or your own self. And then you're forcing yourself to trigger that feedback loop, right? Like that feedback loop could be there, but you're not triggering it. You're not going, you're not um, eating your vegetables every day, right? So um, creating that feedback loop is also motivating, because it sorts of create that priority, naturally creates that priority when you start tracking it. It's there, and every day you're like, okay, I'm tracking these things, so I need to prioritize it. And as you're doing it, of course it's motivating, right? You're gamifying the whole thing, where you're like, oh, this thing is going up. Oh, I want it to go higher, and every day you're seeing it go up, or every day you're seeing, if you're creating a chain, every day you're increasing the length of the chain, or something like that. So there's something motivating about it. Of course, you don't want to track just to track. As I was saying, like there are these vanity metrics, and you want to get away from them. And so there's this whole idea of, like, yeah, figure out what to track, and KPI is very good at naming these things. It's like, what to track is very important, as tracking it. And then, as I said earlier, once you found it, once you improved it, maybe think about, should I keep the same metric, or should I change metric? Another thing I wanted to mention is, how do you get started on this? Maybe it's minor in this video, but I was listening to this podcast. I don't remember where, but they were talking about, maybe it was No Stupid Questions, one of these, or Radiolab, or one of these. And they were saying, do New Year's resolutions actually work? They were asking the question, and they were answering, yes, they work, even though a lot of people don't keep at it, and, waste their New Year resolutions. Since so many people are doing and taking New Year resolutions when it's a new year, you actually also see a lot of people following up, and actually, starting new habits, and doing things differently, and doing the things they wanted to do because they decided to make a change on that date. And then they started talking about events that can trigger change. And so New Year, New Year is such an event, but people also make change at new seasons, on special dates like birthday or a holiday or something like that, but also Mondays. Every Monday, and if you go to a gym, you know that the gym is usually the busiest day of the year, or the busiest day of the week, the Monday, because everybody's like restarting and being like, okay, I I'm motivated. This is Monday. I'm gonna restart my. I stopped going to the gym like for 3 days in a row. Like or last week I didn't go, but Monday I'm gonna start again. And so you see the Monday being kind of an event that motivates people. So anyway, I think I talked enough. What is the time? Yeah, it's 10 minutes because my computer just went off on me. Um, so I'm gonna stop here, but I want to stop by giving you a challenge. Find something that you want to improve in your life, and use that video as your event to create change. Find that metric that will help you make progress. So find the thing to make progress in. Like everybody has something that they want to get better at or improve, but then find a metric and then start tracking it today or tomorrow, or I mean, maybe tomorrow is a better day, or doesn't matter, right? You choose, and drop a comment saying accountability is a good thing. Tell me what you're interested in improving, and tell me what's that metric that you found to improve it. I'd be very curious about what people find out or want to improve. Anyway, I'll stop here. Hopefully this video helps people. I guess that's the theme, right? Like if I can make videos that encourage people and motivate people, that I mean, that's I'm making the world a better place. So that's actually kind of nice. So please let me know if you're doing that, so that it motivates me to make these videos. Maybe the number of comments I get on these videos is my metric, and I'm trying to get them up. And I just thought about that as I said that. Um, so yeah, help me make my metric go up, I guess.